All right, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture just to see how those incidents affect our daily lives. Listen, 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 listen. Child, I ain't even ready for this. I ain't even ready. This should not take long. This episode basically covered Earn. You see it at the bottom of the screen. Called it's our series finale. This is the last season, y'all. Bittersweet. I'm glad for all of the actors that are in this show because they have also all of them have gone on and they're doing so much other movies and things like that. So I'm happy for them because their career is on the path that they have set for it. But I'm also sad because I enjoy this ensemble and I will miss them and I probably will be lamenting this throughout the whole deal. So listen, as you see at the bottom of the screen, you see the name of the episode. Baby. Let me add some things. Let me get to some places. Here we go. So this is the title of the episode and the synopsis of the episode. We got grown men out here being this petty. Y'all really need therapy. I don't, because I already know what's wrong with me. That doggone earn. That doggone. One thing I would say about Danny Glover, he really does have his finger on the pulse of what's going on out here in society. And if you follow different social media outlets, men in therapy is a big deal. And wherever you line up on the end of that, it's a big deal. So I'm just going through my notes, y'all, trying to get to where I need to be with my notes. All right, here we go. Right. So here are the highlights of the show. Highlights of the show. I just took some clips. So basically, what we see when it comes on is that Ern is driving in his car. Alfred calls him because he's trying to get into an app or a game or something like that, and this game is telling him that he doesn't know the password, and so the game is telling him about you need to go back. We're going to send you, I guess, a password thing through your old email address. And child, he was like, well, Ern was like, what's the email address? And he was like, AIM. And he was like, you talking about American Online? So and I got so tickled because I don't think a lot of us have had like an American Online account in years. Ever since that Microsoft came out, is Microsoft Outlook now. But when Microsoft came out with Hotmail, baby, and it was free because American Online, you had to pay a monthly fee. And that joker was dial up, child. Y'all remember 55 and 155 baud? Y'all remember that? Oh, if you don't remember it, you don't. But anyway. But basically, Ernest is in counseling. He has a counselor, and he is going through his therapy sessions with his counselor. And we learn a little bit more about Ern. Basically, we learn that the reason why Ern has trust issues about putting his trust in different people. So he just accepts the fact that people are going to be people, and so the counselor helps him go through those emotions and go through skills and things like that to help him understand that people will betray your trust. It's just that you've got to be able to forgive and then move on for yourself, not for the other person. You've got to figure out how to do that. So he takes Ern through cycles Ern through a level of his emotions. And we figure out that one of his trust issues come from when he was at Princeton. He was an RA. And if you don't know what an RA is, that's a resident assistant. So basically, you are a student uh, that assists other students, making sure they have their room, making sure that they're in their room, making sure that they're complying to the rules and regulations of the dorm. Also, being a pseudo counselor, helping, trying to help them get through some things as far as with school, or channeling them through the resources that they need to go to get some help. So he's talking about being an RA at Princeton, and he's talking about that he had become friendly with another RA there. And they seemed to be friends, and they had been doing things back and forth with each other together. Apparently, Ern was going to have a job interview, and he went out and bought a suit and had all this other stuff to go get this job interview. Before his job interview, uh, another one of the students decided that they would come up and ask Ern, did he want to go to a party real quick? And he was like, really cool, because he knew it wasn't going to interfere with his job interview that afternoon. So he asked the RA. Well, the RA volunteered, hey, you can leave your suit in my room, and you can leave your suit in my room, and you can go to your party, and I'll be here, and when you come back, you can come get your suit, and you can change and everything. I don't know why Ern thought that that was a good idea at that point, but he did allow for him to get the suit. He comes back from the party. He wants to get the suit because he's getting ready to go to this job interview. That RA is nowhere to be found. So he calls and calls and calls and calls. She doesn't return his calls. Then she says, I'm not there. And so, which was fine. So he remembered, I'm an RA too. I'm going to go in, get my suit, and come back out. Well, he got his suit. He went to his interview. When he came back, all hell had broken loose. She had gotten upset because he had gone into my room and he had violated this. And, with him being a black man and her being a white woman, she put 40 on 10 and made it seem like he violated everything about it. And so when he tried to explain what was going on, how nobody wanted to listen, and he said they started using words in regards like he had assaulted her, and which he did not, and they couldn't prove that he stole anything. uh it was as legitimate as possible because he did have the text messages to show that that's why he went into the room. So anyway, it's the longest story, and that's why he left Princeton. He was on the verge of being expelled, and I think he just went ahead and left. So we're in the counseling office, and he's talking to the counselor about that. He comes back for a second session because he's gotten real comfortable. He's laying down on the couch. He's even laying down on the floor. Uh, Ern also opens up about the fact that his trust comes from not only with this woman, uh, violating his trust. He also had an incident with a family member that SA'd him and violated his trust in that way. So we've been talking about that. So then he starts to tell this story. And he also talks about the fact that, he's getting older. He's doing a real good job at his job, and that he has been offered a job in Los Angeles that's going to make a lot of money. But he is afraid that Van is not going to want to go, and therefore he's not going to be able to see Lottie like he wants to. So that's been weighing on him at this point. So then he starts to tell the counselor about the story of the TSA agent. This TSA, he says that somehow he lost his ID. He figured that's okay. I have my passport. They go to because they were going to. Well, anyway, let me backtrack. Princeton had invited him to come in to speak and get an honorable degree. And you remember when I just talked about that story about him being at Princeton, what happened to him? The counselor kind of worked him through like, hey, you need to let that chapter of your life close. You going to Princeton would be a great way, and to do that speech will be a great way for you to close that chapter. And and Ern agreed because he had talked about the fact that since that incident, he has lived his life being quite spiteful. and that's going to be key. So then the next counseling session comes up. Ern is talking about, well, the counselor asks, how did the thing go at Princeton? He said, I didn't go. And then he tells the counselor about the story about how he lost his driver's license, but he didn't have an issue with that because he had his passport. He said, we got to the ticket agent, we had our tickets, we were checked in. He says what happened was, when they got to the airport, Van's name was misspelled on her ticket. But then he remembered he had pre-checkout. It was something. So he was going through the line. Everything was going well. He ended up with this TSA agent. She decided that his passport was too raggedy for him to travel. So she was not going to accept the passport. And he was like, wait a minute, what? And he was like, wait a minute, what? She explained that I guess because the stamp pages were bent or something like that, that it was just too raggedy for him to, to travel. They ended up like, going back and forth with her. And then another person comes over, assists them. They take them through. She even walks them to the gate so they can catch their flight. However, that one salty TSA agent beats them to the gate and tells the people, don't let them board. So they don't go. And so he talked about that and how he was upset about that. And he cycled through and did everything. And then he basically told the counselor that he was going to have to stop with the counseling. And the counselor was basically impressed how Ern told him that he was not going to go through counseling. And he says usually people just give him a phone call and say, I'm not coming back. But he felt like Ern was in a good place. One of the things I do want to talk about, which I think is very important, is that Ern came into counseling simply because he was having physical manifestations of anxiety and depression. He was having the heart palpitations and the pain in his arm. And a lot of that has to do with anxiety. Uh, you know, he was also talking about some other things that were going on with his body. And the one thing that I did like that the counselor told him, he says, your body knows when something's wrong. You have to listen to it. If the doctors couldn't find anything physically wrong, that means it might be something emotional or psychological that you need to deal with. And at first, like I said, Ern was he wasn't receptive of it. And he wasn't receptive of coming to counseling. But once he understood that he was in a safe place, he was able to open up. And also, I did enjoy the fact that he was talking to a counselor that looked like him, that had experiences like him. So he was able to open up. And then plus this counselor offered Ern a safe space. So then it switches over to this white woman. We find out her name is Lisa Mann, and she's at home walking her dog. She gets a telephone call. Telephone call is from she gets an email from a literary agent that wants to help her publish her book. Apparently, she is a writer, and so she meets the literary agent who wants to help her publish a book. She's excited about that. They go through all this whole rigmarole. One of the caveats is that she was going to have to read her book at the public library in front of some inner city kids. And so she was like, fine. So, honey, she feels like she is on her way. She tells her best friend. Her best friend was like, listen, you think this is a sure deal because I don't have any money to let you borrow because you still owe me $500 if this doesn't work out. But Lisa assures her that this is going to work out. Well, she walks out on her because she feels like she's not happy about my dream, so I'm not going to be worried about her. So she goes through all the whole rigmarole. She meets with the literary agent. The literary agent gives her suggestions. He hooks her up with an illustrator so she can get her book, a mock-up of her book out on time so she could go read it for the kids. She goes and she reads for the kids at the library, and baby, it does not go good for her. The kids are like, that horse is ugly, because the title of the show is the title of her book, The Homeliest Little Horse. She's reading her book. The kids are talking about the horse looks like it's been farting. The horse started a fire because it farted. It was a whole thing. It went downhill. And so she saw this lady leaving. So I guess she thought this lady was important. And then all of a sudden the kids are like, I don't like this book. I don't like this book. This book is boring. This book is boring. I'm going to leave. So she's sitting there reading this book. And then now there's nobody listening to her book. It wasn't bad, but the kids weren't interested, and that upset her because she felt like she didn't do a good job. So she goes off and she's in tears. Then we see it switches to Ern. Ern is having this big old party. Now, the literary agent is there. The lady who worked at the library was there. And all these two people came in contact with the white lady, Lisa. And we also, do you remember the guy last season? Or was it third season? The guy in the third season, I think he was Paperboy's friend, and he thought he was going to be going overseas, and they left him, and he didn't have no where to stay in Atlanta. You remember that guy? He was the secretary. So all of these people were there, and it looked really strange. I was like, why is all these people here? And he invites Paperboy, and he invites Darius, and he tells them, oh, this is a rap party. This is a rap party. And he was like, a rap party for what? He says, you giving out money, got free drinks and everything. What is going on? He says, do you remember that TSA agent that caused for me to miss my trip? He was like, yeah, man, that was like 2 months ago. He says, well, I hired all these people to make her think that she was going to have that somebody was going to publish her book. And he says, basically, she's bankrupt. And then it went click, 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 click. Lisa was the TSA agent that caused for Ern to miss out on that speech to Princeton. He was so pissed off, honey. He reached. When I tell you, he dug down real deep in that little petty bag and pulled up this whole scene to humiliate this woman because this woman messed up his trip. Baby, I love me some petty, but Ern put all that money, time, and effort into that petty. Ooh, baby. You should have seen me when I saw that. I was in here rolling. Ern put 20 on 10, y'all. He put 20 on 10. He put 20 on 10. You hear me? This man pulled so deep in his petty bag, girl. But it was to the point that it was so over the top that Paperboy and Darius was like, bruh, that ain't cool. This ain't even cool. This ain't even cool. Why would you do something like this? This ain't even cool. But Ern, and let me find that little picture. Is it this one? I don't know if you see my mouse, but right here, the last picture at the bottom, do you see that smile that he has on his face? Y'all. All right, people. That was the end of the episode. I think Ern's going to counseling is a wonderful thing, but please don't think that one session, and what I mean by that is in my head about counseling, you have counseling visits and then you have like a whole session. You do the visits to meet the session goals because you have goals and things that you want to achieve. And you may have like 5 visits in that whole session so that you can achieve this goal. But don't think that that's all the counseling you'll ever need in your life. You will continue to have different things that you're going to that you will be struggling with, or different things that you want to have a preventative approach that you'd want to do. But anyway, go to counseling. Ern is going to need a little bit more. He's going to need a little bit more because that petty bag is too deep for me. I'm petty. I enjoy a good petty outcome, but that was way too deep. That was way too deep, and that will have some effects on Ern later on in life. So Tell me what you thought about this episode, y'all. It was a pretty good episode. I did not realize that this woman was the woman that he did this stuff to. I thought we were getting into the Atlanta cinematic universe. I thought it was something else going on, but it wasn't what I thought, and it was something. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friend, tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell that heifer you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. Help me help you to see me. All right, people. We went a little about 5 minutes longer than our 15 minutes. I hope you give me grace on that. We will be watching next week because we'll only have one episode. It'll only probably be like one episode a week until they go through the whole season. Got any comments? Did you catch anything in this episode that I didn't catch? Leave it down there in the comments. And as always, people, bye-bye.